All right, it's week 1 in the NFL, so naturally that means it's time for us to overreact to everything we saw fantasy-wise in the NFL this weekend. It's time to panic on some of these guys. I'm pulling the plug. I had a lot of stock in some of these guys, and it was just a disaster performance, and it doesn't look like it's getting any better.
Remain calm. All is well.
But a couple of our big dogs balled out for us, our top performers from this weekend. But let's just touch on the Thursday and Friday games real quickly. Rookie Xavier Worthy, 2 touchdowns for the Kansas City Chiefs. We said he was a flex play. Get him on your roster or in your lineup right away. Lamar Jackson balled out, 27.1, but I don't know if he can sustain this running around like a maniac. Saquon Barkley, your big getter at running back, 33.2 points, and Jaden Reed for the Packers, a monster day at wide receiver. If you even played him, he was a potential flex play, but man, huge day, 33.1, but Jordan Love goes down for 3 to 6 weeks. I think we have a ton of question marks now on this Green Bay offense. Maybe Josh Jacobs is solid, but hold your breath if you got Green Bay stock. But let's hop into our Sunday performers. This was the big game, I think. Houston at Indy, excellent game. And call me out, I've been down on Anthony Richardson, but we are riding the Anthony Richardson roller coaster to 31 points this weekend. A huge day from him. Shout out to wide receiver Alec Pierce, 21.5 points with three catches, 125 yards, and a touchdown. Michael Pittman Jr. and Jonathan Taylor, just mad performances. I'm not going to panic on them. This was a gritty game for Indy. They really kind of fought their way in a tight game that they ended up losing. But what about this Houston offense? We got so many mouths to feed, and it felt like almost everybody ate. Joe Mixon, your big winner today, 26.8 points, 159 yards, and a TD. Tack on 2 touchdowns for Stephon Diggs. Keep my man happy. Nico Collins, a solid 17.7 points for 117 yards. Solid days from CJ Stroud and Tank Dell. I think we have a ton of stock in this Texans offense, and it's going to the moon. I love it. They felt like they figured out how to spread this ball around, and this Indy defensive front really gave them fits as far as protection was concerned for the early to large parts of this game, but they found a way. I think Houston's going to be a problem for everybody. But what about Atlanta and Pittsburgh? Kirk, 155 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions for Kirk Cousins. A pathetic offensive performance for the Atlanta Falcons. But our guy Bijan still was out there balling for us, 16.1 with no touchdowns. That's a really solid day. If you watch this game, it made my eyes bleed. What a pathetic performance from the Falcons. We had a Kyle Pitts sighting, 12 points and a touchdown. That's good. Kirk Cousins loves throwing to his tight ends. But Drake London, man, just 4 points. People are banking on him as a wide receiver 1, and it just was not there. I know Pittsburgh's defense is maybe the best defense in football. They dominated this game. It could have been just a bad matchup for them, but they got to go to Philadelphia, play them on Monday night this upcoming week, a long rest for the Eagles. I'm getting a little worried about this Falcons offense. Kirk Cousins looking like an old-ass man out there. What about the Steelers? George Pickens has a nice day, 13.5 points. That's really all you could say about this offense for Pittsburgh with Justin Fields under center. But Chris Boswell, the man, 26 points if you're playing with kickers. Could you imagine? I would be sick to my stomach if I lost a game because Chris Boswell dropped 26 on my neck. Oh man, huge day for him. Arizona Buffalo, the Cardinals dominated most of this game early, but guess what? Josh Allen is still the man in fantasy. 31.8 points. Dominant performance for him. 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. A solid day for James Cook. But the receivers, he kind of just has to do it on his own. It feels like he spread the ball around a little bit, but no notable performances from anybody there. Kincaid, kind of a no-show, really. I expected a little bit more out of him. But how about Arizona? The offense was good. We knew their defense was bad, and we had a lot on this offense. James Conner, your big winner, 19.3 points for him. He had a very solid day. Kyler Murray looked good as well. But Marvin Harrison Jr., it's time to hit the panic button, I think. Marvin Harrison Jr., he was finally a number 1 elite wide receiver for Kyler Murray. Just 1.4 fantasy points for him. He was a complete no-show. There were a couple of busted coverages. He was open. I don't know, man. It was just bad. They didn't get him the ball. This was not a good Bills defense. Like I said, maybe he's going to get force-fed next week, but I'm getting a little nervous if I was relying on MH Jr. to be my number 1 wide receiver in fantasy. Okay, Tennessee and Chicago. The Bears defense bear down monsters of the Midway. 2 touchdowns for this defensive special teams unit, 25 points. Bears offense was pathetically bad. The defense won this game, only 149 yards of total offense for them. DJ Moore with 10 points, but everybody else, man, what a stinker. Caleb Williams, maybe the whole routine isn't perfect, running around dancing against NFL defensive lines when they're caring about the game. Tennessee's not the best team in the world. They're not the worst defense, but man, they struggled mightily. Tony Pollard is back though for Tennessee. Will Levis is horrible. I'm very concerned if I bought in on the Tennessee stock. Calvin Ridley and these wide receivers could be in a lot of trouble. But Tony Pollard, 18.4 points. Welcome back. This is the stuff we wanted to see. I don't know if we even had a game as good as this last year in Dallas. Tony Pollard back at it again. You love to see that. What a late round running back. I think they're going to have to rely on this running game to keep any sort of offense going in Tennessee because they were up 17 points in this game and they blew it. So they got to figure something out. And then the upset of the day, we were a little concerned about this. New England and Cincinnati. Ramondre Stevenson, we said maybe the only guy worth having on your team in this Patriots offense. Have a day, sir. 21.6. He's back to what we saw 2 years ago, 120 yards and a touchdown. And God, why are the Bengals so bad? Week 1, Joe Burrow, what the hell, man?
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
Awful performance. I know we didn't have T. Higgins. Looking like Zach Moss is going to be your lead back over Chase Brown in this Bengals backfield. Moss with a nice 14.1 as a running back flex play potentially, or an RB2. Jamar Chase, we knew his snaps were going to be limited. 12.2 points, not what you want out of Jamar Chase, but I'm not going to panic about that. It was an awful game for the Bengals. I'm very concerned about this offensive line. If we're not going to be able to protect Joe Burrow, he's going to get beat up. We're going to struggle to move the football. Hopefully T. Higgins gets back soon and it can fix some things out. But man, this was awful all around for the Bengals. And we have officially found our team for 2024 that we want to play against every single week in fantasy. It's the Carolina Panthers. My God, they are awful. Bryce Young just needs to, be a family man at this point. It is not working out for him or the Panthers. I don't see how this team does anything and what this future looks like. I don't want anybody on this Panthers team. We talk about bad teams always putting up fantasy points. That may not even be the case. Just 10 points. We did get some garbage from Carolina, but Alvin Kamara, 22 points. My man Group, the kicker for New Orleans, 22 points. He was on the Start Kickers video. Love to see it. Derek Carr, 21.3 points. A solid day. Raheem Shaheed, 16.3 and a big touchdown. Of course, of all the people, though, in the Saints offense that was cooking, the Saints defense having a really nice day. Chris Olave, just 3.1 points, man. Why do you got to do it to us? We thought he was going to have a big day today against this terrible Panthers team. Of course, your number one wide receiver in most cases. I'm not going to panic about this. I actually am positive about the Saints offense. I think they looked a lot better than I thought they would. I know Carolina is awful, but I really had some positive vibes going from this Saints offense. Derek Carr looked a lot more in control of this offense, and we saw a lot of this towards the end of last season. So positive all around on the Saints. How about my Vikings and the Giants? Danny Dimes sucks. We were really worried about this. Malik Neighbors, 11.6 points in his debut. He's solid, man. I liked what I saw from him, but Danny Dimes cannot get him the football. They struggled to run the ball. The Vikings defense, they were on our streams list. 22 points for them, had a pick six, a dominant performance. Aaron Jones back at it. We were on it. John, shout out on Aaron Jones. Liked Aaron Jones today. 18.9 points. Had himself over 100 scrimmage yards and a touchdown. Didn't quite break that 100 yards rushing to get those bonus points for you. JJ, a solid 15.9, a touchdown, 50 plus yards receiving. Sam Darnold, maybe a streaming option, looked really solid. Jordan Addison exited with an injury, so we have to check that out. It sounds like he avoided disaster, but all around, this Vikings team surprisingly putting up some great fantasy points for us this week. And now the game that we thought was going to light it on fire at noon, Jacksonville and Miami. Tyreek Hill, still that dog, was getting shut out a little bit. 26 points, had an 80-yard touchdown reception just like that. Devon A-Chain, a solid 23 points. Jalen Waddle gets injured but has a 16.2 point day. Very strong day from him. But Raheem Mostert, we thought this was going to be a balanced backfield Only 3.9 points from Mostert. I was a little concerned he started. He looked in his age. It was not pretty out there. I'm getting very concerned if I'm a Raheem Mostert owner. Maybe eject from Mostert, but I feel great about this Dolphins offense because they looked terrible for about 2.5 quarters, and they just woke up and put up points. Brian Thomas in his debut, 14.7, a really, really strong game for him. And the Jags were rolling in the first half. I thought this was going to be a great day for them. It falls apart. Travis Etienne fumbles going into the end zone. That's an 8-point swing right there. Could have had a nice day for him. Otherwise, finishes with just 1 touchdown in an okay day. Evan Ingram, only 1.5 points. Disaster. We want him to be a top 6, top 5 tight end. He did nothing. Christian Kirk, just 4 points. So pretty disappointing all around for this Jags offense outside of Brian Thomas Jr. But that does it for the early games. Our late game performance really, really strong. All right, our overreactions to the late window games. My man Kenneth Walker, K9, 18.9 points. Feed him the rock. 100-yard touchdown performance from him. Tyler Lockett, 13.7 points for us. Really surprising. We thought Lockett was the third man out in this wide receiver group. DK Metcalf only 5.9 points and JSN only 3.9. So a really disappointing performance from those two receivers. But this was really about the matchup. Denver was a very vulnerable run team. We expected them to pound the rock. And a solid performance by this Seahawks defense. Denver's offense looked really bad, man. I am feeling awful about the situation. Now, it's a rookie quarterback's first start, but Javonte Williams, only 3.3 points. Jaleel McLaughlin, only 5.8. Both Denver running backs doing absolutely nothing. Cortland Sutton, 7.8. That was okay. But Devon Vele, the rookie, 11.9. 8 targets. So clearly we got a guy Bo Nix is targeting after. But I think this Broncos offense is bad. I wouldn't really panic on the Seahawks, but Denver, I don't know, man. I hated what I saw from them today. Vegas and LA, we didn't know what to expect from the Chargers, but shout out my man, J.K. Dobbins, my guy. I've been all over J.K. Dobbins is the guy in LA. 22.9 points, 135 yards, and a touchdown on only just 10 carries. Huge day for him. Ladd, we were worried if Ladd was actually going to be the number 1 wide receiver. 14.9 points for him, a strong NFL debut. Gus Bus, 3.8 points only on 11 carries. He got more carries than JK and only got 3.8 points. I'm getting very worried. I'd be selling my Gus Edwards stock. I think it's time to pull out. Hit the panic button on Gus Edwards. As far as the Raiders, they looked bad offensively. Alexander Mattison, a monster, 16.2 points for him, but he scored on a 31-yard touchdown pass. He was more effective in the passing game, only had 5 carries today, but good for him, his longest touchdown of his career. Brock Bowers, a solid 11.8. Devontae Adams, only 10.9. We want more out of Devontae Adams, but we got to call out John. John has been on Zamir White, and Zamir White, only 4.6 points, only 5 carries today in that Raiders backfield. I don't know what's going on with the Raiders. Offensively, we knew Gardner Minshew wasn't good, but man, it just kind of looked all sorts of out of sorts against this Chargers defense that wasn't supposed to be anything special. Obviously, they'd be better, but man, I'd be very concerned. Maybe Devontae Adams getting traded. That's the most we can hope for right now because I'm panicking hardcore about the Vegas Raiders. Kind of a perfect fantasy day for us if you had the Buccaneers. Baker money maker, 29.66 points, 4 tutties on the air. Mike Evans doing his Mike Evans thing, 23.2 points. Chris Godwin, 22.3. And my man White, our guy, he's the guy, 16.6. You couldn't ask for anything more if you had Buccaneer stock. Perfect days from all 4 of these guys. Great fantasy performance for them. And we expected a good day against a bad Washington defense. But the Washington Commanders, this is a team we weren't really sure what they're going to look like. They could not pass the football. But they could run the football. We talked about Cliff Kingsbury. He likes to run. They can run. Jaden Daniels, doesn't matter. 28.1 fantasy points for him. Had a nice day on the ground. 88 yards and 2 touchdowns. And B-Rob, I've been really high on Brian Robinson. I said he was a sleeper guy to go after. 17.9 points, a really strong day for him. Austin Eckler with an okay 10.2, so we got him involved there. Maybe not as disastrous as we were fearing if we had Austin Eckler shares, but Scary Terry, man, the only wide receiver on this team, 3.7 points. We thought he'd be doing a lot of the receiving for them, but they just really couldn't even throw this ball. And this was against a bad Buccaneers secondary last year. Now, they've probably improved, but I'm very concerned about this Washington passing game, especially, Scary Terry's got to be doing more than this. But from a running standpoint, Jaden Daniels is going to put up fantasy points, it looks like. Chasing teams are going to get ahead on them early. He's going to be running around, picking up free yards, and B-Rob is involved all over the place in this offense. So I'm not freaking out about the Commanders yet, but it's something to keep an eye on. But I'm positive if I got those two guys running the football. And finally, Dallas and Cleveland. God, the Browns are just awful. That was the worst offensive performance for the first 3 quarters I've seen. This is a complete garbage point team. They're going to be down. It looks like Deshaun Watson is washed, and this was my ultimate fear if you were getting in on this Browns team. But somehow Jerome Ford had 18.9 points. Just total garbage points here because the Browns were getting whacked by the Cowboys. Judy, we had a Jerry Judy sighting. He caught a touchdown, 11.5 points. But the real concern, Amari Cooper. 3.6 points, a horrible performance. Now, he drew some top defensive assignments this week in Dallas with Diggs on him most of the game. It just, I don't know, man. It does not feel right. Deshaun Watson can't throw the football. He is just awful, terrible. The worst quarterback in the NFL, maybe, especially for how much he's paid. David Njoku with an 8-point day. It's kind of whatever. I'm sick to my stomach if I was in on these Browns receivers and tight ends to actually do something. Now, the Cowboys are good, but still, it was really unsettling. Cowboys D did the thing for Dallas. Kind of a weird day for them. Nothing crazy for anybody. 18 points for the Cowboys D really was it. Brandon Cooks, 14.5 points, had himself a touchdown. CD with 13.6. But the man, the myth, the legend, our ultimate winner player of the week, Zeke Elliott, 12.9 points. They wrote him off. He didn't write back. Geno Smith style. Comeback guy. What a huge day for Zeke. I saw it early. It looked like Zeke had some juice in the legs, and he balled out for them. 12.9 doesn't seem like anything crazy, but where you were drafting Zeke, what the expectations were for him, I would be ecstatic if we can get performances like this each and every week. Cowboys roll up on the Browns. So that's going to do it for us this week. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Who are you in on? Who are you out on? Who are you targeting in your waiver wire pickups? Check out the channel. We got daily fantasy content for you guys throughout the week. We have who to start and sit, running backs, wide receivers, everybody, who to target in those waiver wire videos. I got kickers, we got defense, we got everything. If you haven't already, drop a sub. We're live streaming throughout the week, answering all your questions, bringing home those dubs for you guys. Again, like, subscribe, and share if you haven't already, and we will see you guys tomorrow.